Welcome to another exciting episode of the Million Dollar Peddlers. I'm Paper Guy, and we're heading into the end of the year, and this is the time where everybody sits back and reflects. They look back on the prior year, and we're not going to be any exception. We always do that. We do a couple of shows, one where we look back and one where we look ahead. Definitely do check those out. They'll be over on the live show, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. So that's always a fun couple of shows over there that we have. But looking back this year and looking ahead, I think it's very, very important now more so than ever to do some reflection on your business and take a look at where it is and where it's going. And the reason why is during the pandemic, 2020 through the end of 2021, and even in the middle of 2022, anybody could make money reselling. You just could. There was really no skills involved. You could buy nearly anything and put it on up and you're going to have sales. And in fact, I had record sales. So I guess that proves that anybody could sell anything. Now, things have definitely changed. And we're not so far gone from that people have really sat down, or a lot of people have not sat down and really reevaluated their business. But I think that it's very, very important that you do so sooner rather than later. And I always give the example of how I had been doing really well for a number of years back in the early 2010s. And year after year after year, my sales were dropping at one point. And I wasn't really reevaluating things. For whatever reason, I just kept doing the same thing day after day, week after week, month after month. And as they say with the definition of insanity, it's doing the same thing over and over and expecting different outcomes. And eventually, I sat down and I made a conscious decision that I was going to change what I was doing. And, it worked out for the better. Now, however, I'm noticing the sales are starting to go down a little bit as well again. And that is one reason why we had the live show, and again, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays, talking about whether or not you should use promoted listings on eBay. And that's what I mean by reflecting. Sit back and take a look at every little aspect of your business. We got fat and lazy from 2020 through the middle of 2022. Just did. We were making money, if not necessarily hand over fist. We were doing well. Let's put it that way, no matter what. And when you're doing well, a lot of times the quality control suffers a little bit. And a lot of times you're not really caring so much because the money's rolling in. So you may be overpaying for things. You may be, when was the last time you priced out your supplies? You might not have done it for a while because you sat there and you were making good money during the pandemic. And now that things are tightening up a little bit, you still haven't looked for an alternate source of supplies. You haven't gone and realized that, hey, wait a minute, I need to pay less money. And that's something or other Mr. Magazine, as a matter of fact, and I'm talking about for new merchandise, Mr. Magazine has definitely noticed because he's doing 50% off sale on his eBay store. And he's suddenly realizing that if something's worth $100 and he's paying $50, even if he overprices it at $120 to $140 and ends up doing a 50% off sale, he's not making any money on it. So he cannot be buying stuff at 40 to 50 to 60% as he was before, because even if he marks it up a little above value, he's still not going to be making any money on it. So he's tightened his buying up just simply because of that. And my hat's off to Mr. Magazine. He definitely is reevaluating things sooner than I am. Part of the reason for that, of course, is I do have the day job. This is part-time for me, at least for a while. While he's sitting there, he's doing it full-time. He's got to evaluate his employees. Are his employees doing what they need to do? Year after year, minimum wage keeps going up in New York State. Upstate, it's going to be $15 an hour at the end of December. So into next year, it's going to be $15 an hour. Obviously, you've got to pay above minimum wage in order to keep anybody. So he's paying people $17, $18, $20 an hour. He's got to demand more out of them and make sure that they're doing what they need to do. Well, he was doing a little less of that during the pandemic because, again, at that point, orders were coming in fast and furious. And as long as people were finding things and getting them out, he wasn't overly worried about stuff because he was making money. Well, now all of a sudden that things are tightening up, He's reevaluating that. And that's what I think you need to sit back and look at. Are you paying money for a storage unit that's half filled? Or are you paying money for a storage unit that's filled with things that you're never truly going to get around to listing? Maybe it's time to take that stuff and send it off to the local auction and get rid of that expense. Maybe it's time to take that stuff and try to sell it in a marketplace. Are you finding enough good stuff to buy? If not, maybe it's time to source somewhere else. Maybe it is time to try Marketplace, which you've never tried before. Maybe Craigslist has sales. Maybe you can, list it on their garage sales, local sales. Maybe you've never tried estate sales. Maybe it's time you put an ad out there yourself to do it. I just recently got an ad from I wouldn't say he's a competitor because he sends a lot of people my way because he doesn't deal in books and magazines. But he advertises in the value pack, which is something or other that gets sent out to a lot of different homes in the various areas. Save $20 off gutter cleaning, and get a free small pizza with the purchase of a large pizza. All those kind of little coupons. Well, he's actually in there as well. Maybe that's something or other to look into in order to pick up better inventory. You need to sit back, and every little aspect of your business you need to take a look at now, whether it's supplies, whether it's employees, whether it's rents that you're paying on storage units, whether you've been at that antique mall for 3 years. Are you suddenly looking at it and realizing that at the end of the month you're basically paying to give your stuff away, or you're making $20? Is that worth the effort that you're putting in? Now would be the time to sit there and pull back. Or you're doing really, really well there. Maybe now is the time to sit there and get a larger space. Because if you just sit and be complacent, nothing's going to change and things are just going to get worse, because I think margins are going to tighten up for everybody, which is why you need to really, really take a look at all the expenses. It's one of the reasons why I'm going to be moving to charging shipping in 2024. I've done free shipping forever over on eBay. I don't think that's viable anymore. I'm going to be charging shipping in 2024. I'm going to be working on much more targeted promoted listings, because again, I don't see that they're working out well for me. I've got to cut back on that. It's hundreds of dollars that I could put inside of my pocket that I think would be better served in my pocket. I make the mistake that I buy too much. Back-to-back years, I've spent over $30,000 on new merchandise. It's sitting all around me over here, and I'm not going to have the income from the day job coming in. So that's going to tighten things up for me a little bit as well, at least for the short term, as I learn to navigate that world. Maybe it's time for me to definitely get a lot more selective in my purchasing. I'm selling stuff on Whatnot, but I've never used the marketplace. It's going to be time for me to take a look into the Whatnot marketplace and Whatnot buy it nows and all that sort of thing in order to use that as well. So I've got a lot of different ideas and a lot of different areas that I'm going to be searching on to try to fine tune everything, because again, I'm making money this year. It's less than I made last year. Last year, I made money or less money than I did the year before. That's not a good trend. And I made the mistake again in the early teens of not changing that, and far too long I went with diminishing returns until I finally changed things around. This time I've learned, and I'm definitely going to be changing a lot quicker, and I think you probably need to do so as well. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. Hit the like button if you could, and we will see you next video.